right, hello, and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are playing Delta Green tonight, continuing Impossible Landscapes campaign. We're back after a week hiatus. Not a very long hiatus, but a break. Probably a break, probably would have been a better word. We already got a hype train going. Thank you for the folks who've been dropping some subs and some bits in chat. We definitely appreciate it. And we have a Chuck in the house, so we know it's a hype moment if Chuck is showing up as we continue. And I try to remember how to do this. I haven't streamed in like a week, so I really don't like. I opened up OBS and I'm like, what do these buttons do? And then, yeah, I deleted half my scenes and I had to rebuild them all. So it's great. But other things we do here, we do all sorts of streaming on this channel 3 days a week usually. Mondays, Fridays, Saturdays. Fridays is our Delta Green game. And Saturdays, we've been playing Worlds Without Number. We're off tomorrow, however. Got some schedule stuff that we're still working out. But Worlds Without Number is what we've been doing on Saturdays. Monday, coming up in just a few days, we are continuing our Alien game, our Chapter 3 of our Cinders of Heaven campaign, where we have a new crew of Colonial Marines, 6 Colonial Marines. But interestingly enough, only 11 arms. It's very strange. You got to watch the first episode of the chapter to figure out what happens. It's great. Somebody lost an arm, is what I'm saying. And then...
Thank you, Bert.
Yeah, it was all Bert's fault. And then finally, we have a new game coming up. If you were watching before we went live, you saw a little screen. We're playing Ultraviolet Grasslands coming on August 2nd. We like to alternate our games on Mondays, so Aliens get one Monday, and then the next Monday we do Ultraviolet Grasslands, and we'll do that for a little bit. So come check that out. So really, arm removal for the win. Very much. Thank you, Chuck. We're almost up to a level 2 hype train already. You guys are great. You guys are way too kind, too nice. It's wonderful. We'll figure out, what do we do with those bits? Because we already have a couple left over. I think Melissa was keeping track of that. We got a couple more.
2 rerolls and a fortuitous coincidence.
Derek's doesn't count for shit when he dropped those bits. Players cannot buy to win.
No, that's fine. I was saying it's to enrage the psycho machine. It was more for fun.
And then Chuck has insisted that his bits be used to remove limbs. We will do our very best to make that happen.
There are some limbs that would be good to remove, just not any of our limbs.
It's fair.
But there are some limbs in question that would be good for.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. For a reroll, let me see if I got my my commands working. There we go. 100 bits gives a player a reroll. Now the rule with rerolls, because I don't want it to go crazy, sometimes it can get a little crazy. I don't want people getting to reroll like one roll 1,000 times. They get 1 per scene. So a scene is anything from like an investigation of a singular room, or if they're having like a social encounter, like they're talking with the cops or something, or if they're in combat, they get to use it once. So you don't get to like stack it too much. Because we still want it to be dangerous. We still want people to potentially go insane. So we keep it kind of fun. Ooh. And then if you want to go crazy, you can add a complication, which is how we lost an arm in that Alien game. And it's how we lost 2 characters in a previous Alien game. So complications are always fun. Thank you, Captain Nemo. Or I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, even though it's got QP in the front. But let's see. I think it's time. Let's introduce our characters here. We got a hard stop in 2 hours, so we want to get as much play in as we can. So I'm just going to ask everyone to introduce your character, and then I just want to know, as you guys speed away from the burning home of your handler, possibly being chased by a metal machine monster that seemingly is indestructible, what's on your mind? What are you thinking? And as we move to a level 2 uptrain, very, 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 very nice, very nice. So we're going to start with what the overlay tells me to do. And Ashley, you're first. Who are you, and what's Chelsea thinking?
So I'm Agent Chelsea. Previously, I was the intelligence analyst, but nowadays I clean up crime scenes when I'm not running from horrible, horrible things in Delta Green. And Chelsea's really thinking that, man, we fucked this up. We messed up, especially if she's looking out the window and she's seeing that old man mow his lawn.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll elaborate on the summary in a moment, but yeah, that's a fair conclusion. We were talking beforehand how like level, chapter 1, it was all right. The end was kind of crazy because of some crit fail rolls, but otherwise it was okay. After 2, it's just been like
a little bit.
We've never gotten on the rails. We've been off the rails since 20 minutes in. It's been crazy. Moving it over. Long, who are you?
Yeah, I'm playing Agent Vessel, a retired FBI agent, now bartender. And he's currently in the back of his truck, holding on to his pieces of hastily put on armor to keep it from falling off. And also this strange machine he just decided to carry with him. Not sure what it is.
That's true. Yeah, that was basically Chelsea's idea. We'll dive into that, I'm sure, tonight at some point. We might, assuming everyone survives and all that kind of stuff. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Bottom row, Derek, who are you?
I am playing Agent Album, kind of like a science-y, nerdy type of the group. And currently, while he's driving the getaway van, literally, he is kind of like leaning hardcore into his anarchist like archetype. He's blown up a building 20 years ago, and now he just did some arson. So he's feeling good, you know?
He's really in his element, you know? Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Just hates architecture. Everyone should be mobile and have like caravans and stuff.
Yeah. We got to go back to our tribal days. Screw these buildings.
Absolutely.
Concrete prison, man.
We weren't born to live in a stationary building. Come on. Put wheels on that sucker and it's a different story. And then finally, we've got Melissa.
So I am Agent Fawn. She is a kind of the studious historical archaeologist type with the National Park Service. I'm going to go with one of those player and character feeling the same thing. Super mad that there's a whole lot of stuff inside that house that we are not going to get to look at. So there's the, a little bit of Chelsea's, concern for the greater good, but in terms of this mission is very, very mad that there's a lot of information in there that might not ever be seen by our eyes.
I don't even think there's a might surrounding it. I think it's pretty well fixed at this point. So let's dive in. Let me do a kind of a more elaborate summary. We've been off for a couple of weeks, and if you've never watched this before, you probably should be watching some of the previous episodes, but if you're here live, hang out anyway. And have some fun. But basically, here's as quick of a summary as I can come up with, and it's not very quick, but we'll try. So right now, it is September 2015. It's 20 years after events in New York left a little tenement house called the McAllister Building in flame and rubble at the hands of the 4 agents that you see on the screen. They were responsible for it back in 1995 during Operation Alice. And then they went off in different directions and they were never heard, they didn't ever talk to each other again. And they came back together in 2015 to work together on Operation India Moon, which was given to them by their handler, one Agent Exeter. The specific operation they're on is about a handful of missing psychiatric patients / group operatives, so Delta Green operatives that have gone missing from the Dorchester Psychiatric Facility after reportedly coming in contact with a book known to have unnatural properties. And you were instructed to find them. And if you came across any occult books during your investigation, you do not read them, but you report them in on a satellite phone that your handler gave you. Now, scrawled on the walls of one of the patient's rooms that went missing, there was a reference to Abigail Wright, who just so happened to be a missing artist from the McAllister Building back in 1995 that was somehow tying these two operations together in some way. Now, so far, you guys have been investigating here at the beginning of September, late August. Several weird things have happened from the get-go. There's been some strange things that have been kind of driving you guys nuts and stuff. And I am not going to list every single one, and I don't want anyone to read into the ones that I pick and curate here. We're just kind of moving through some things quickly. You discovered a missing room in the Boxer Hotel, which is a hotel. The only reason you guys are in was because Agent Chelsea inexplicably checked into it while in a fugue state and wandering the streets of Boston alone after a horrible encounter and weird stuff happening inside their jail. We've got a situation where Agent Vessel trailed one of several. There were several Dorchester employees, and he trailed one of them and back to his house. This guy named Richard Bryce opened up this gym bag and found a mummified remains of a child. A gym bag, by the way, that earlier in the day, Fawn had heard voices coming from. We've got Agent Fawn, while doing a tour of the Dorchester facility, found a support group pamphlet for something called the Encounter Group that had the yellow sign and a weird cryptic message written on it. And then we've got Agent Album, who has twice spoke with a voice on a satellite phone that later, when it was broken open, was revealed to not have any circuitry that you would expect a satellite phone to have, but instead is compacted with dirt, has some little plant called hellebore, and a golden bug that I think Vessel ate, which, sure, why the hell not? So anyway, you all decided to investigate your handler some more. You went to his house on a Friday night. You got thwarted by an old lady who was investigating something breaking into her garage, and a drunken person who I think hit Fawn with his car. And when you guys came back the next morning, because you didn't want to do anything more that night, it was Saturday morning, bright sunshine. Agent Exeter wasn't around. You guys just marched right through the front door. You started looking around. Chelsea found some weird machine upstairs that you guys have stolen and taken with you. Album was decoding some postcard that was on the front doorstep, along with a bunch of other past due bills. And then poor Vessel decided to investigate a different machine, which suddenly whirred and whirred and whirred until it sprang into action and literally tried to kill all of you. Burst through walls. You guys ran away. Eventually, Album grabbed a burner phone from the kitchen and set the house on fire. And then all of you, one by one, managed to make your way into your rented Dodge Caravan and started to speed away. The machine got onto came around the side of the house, onto the lawn, and looked like it was getting ready to chase after you, and is kind of looking quite spry and fast as you guys speed away. So that's where we're going to go ahead and start right there. Broad daylight, Saturday morning, Boston suburb, kids playing catch and stickball and all sorts of stuff in the streets, people mowing their lawns, walking their dogs, and you guys are driving away in a Dodge Caravan. Who's driving?
Me. I have the steering wheel.
Go ahead and roll a drive test.
I have the worst driving stats. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to pull up my character sheet. Whoops.
Those aren't important.
Okay,
Get some music going.
I warned you. Oh wait, we have two rerolls. So
We have rerolls.
We have
I'll just
5 rerolls.
5 rerolls.
wanna watch me do it again.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Wow. That was a sit. Whew, that could have been.
Let's just go, because I
was-
just finished watching Loki. Let's just go. What's happening in that multiverse and that critical failure?
I was gonna say that you guys probably interrupt what was most likely a street hockey game with a bunch of teenage kids, and you hit their net, it gets tangled up in your tires, you side swipe the goalie who goes flying onto the grass, and then you can't drive away, and then the machine comes and just destroys all of you. But you drive and you're peeling away. There's this loud screeching sounds as you're peeling away. The flames are going a little higher. The entire house isn't yet engulfed in flames, but you manage to dodge out of the way what looks like one of those long 30-foot leashes, and there's this little foo-foo dog, this little fluffy dog from an old woman that Vessel recognizes from the night before, who's walking past, and you nearly hit this thing, but you manage to swerve right out of the way. You nearly hit a car that's parked on the side of the road, but you manage to peel off and drive. Vessel, you look behind you, you've got 80% alertness. You can see a few things. First of all, you can see the old woman is turning around and screaming, flicking the bird off, all this kinds of stuff. You notice that there's a handful of kids in one of the other homes that's adjacent to Exeter's house, and you can see they're playing catch right now. And you also see, just bursting out from the side of Exeter's home, you see this massive mechanical machine that's running onto the front lawn. You guys get to the end of the street. You can still see this thing as it's starting to. It looked like it was gaining on you, but then you slammed on the brake. You slammed on not the brakes. You slammed on the gas, and you peeled away. Once you dodged around the dog, you got to the end of the street, and you realize you can probably outpace this thing. Do you turn, Album?
Since we've been to this neighborhood a couple of times, how familiar am I with like the organization of the roads? Like, could I take like the next turn just so I can keep gaining speed in case it decides to come after us, kind of thing?
Okay. Yeah, I think once you roll alertness times plus 20. Critical fail means not only do they turn around and drive back to Exeter's house, Captain Nemo, they drive literally into his house, I think. Yeah, you're not 100% confident with your knowledge of the area, especially since like when you cased it, it was dark. But you think you know, like you can head here and hang a left, and you think that's not gonna like stymie you. You think you can probably turn around and get towards one of the main roads, but you're not sure yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that what you do? Just keep going straight to the next turn?
Yeah, basically, just so we can keep gaining more distance and speed.
Okay. So then Fawn and Chelsea, are there anything that the two of you are doing?
Freaking out.
Elaborate, please.
Just I'm basically just trying to think in my mind of like what is something that could destroy this thing. Like if we're gonna try to drive somewhere, what should we head for? So she's, and I said this kind of before we streamed, but what she's gonna be saying out loud is like, okay, maybe we need to try to find like some railroad tracks or something. Maybe we can run it in front of a train. Maybe that would do it. So just trying to like think through
Okay.
options.
Chelsea, Fawn, well, I'll say Fawn, roll an alertness. Chelsea, what are you doing?
Chelsea is she's on her phone and she's trying to find some place nearby that's not crowded with people.
Okay.
That we could maybe like lead this thing to, like maybe like a dump or something.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just go ahead. You can either roll like a quick computer science, or you can just roll intelligence in ×5, whichever is better for you. Just roll that. Okay. And then, so Album's driving. Vessel, you're looking behind. You've got a high alertness. Fawn, you're looking around for any signs of railroad tracks. The two of you, as you're looking for anything, you guys at one point lose sight of the machine. It kind of moved, as what you could tell, it looked like it was on the sort of front yard of Exeter, maybe even onto the sidewalk, kind of underneath some trees here and there. It was still somewhat shaded, despite the fact that it's kind of a bright day because of the overhanging of the trees. And you can see that it's just running and it's whizzing right behind this old woman who is now bending down and kind of petting this dog. And you watch, like in horror, as this thing just speeds right past her, and you know she doesn't even notice it. She's like, right past her, like, and it kind of disappears between what looks like her shed, like little air, like this little shed area of a different house, and the home itself, and just kind of slips in between, and you're not sure where it goes after that. But it had a free shot at her, and just gonna and seemed to like almost make a quick right hand turn into the houses somewhere.
We've lost sight of it, but doesn't appear to be hurting civilians.
Oh, thank goodness.
Does anybody want to take over the wheel? Because I don't know if I can keep up our good luck and our good pace.
I have a worse drive than you do.
I think I have a decent drive, so we can do a little switcheroo.
Yeah, I'm
We're gonna stop driving so you guys can do a
No, we'll
Chinese
switch.
fire
we just-
drill.
We'll
While
switch
we're
on the
still-
fly.
Yeah, on the fly, we'll just like.
I'm not
scoot on
afraid to
me, I'll
get
be
close to
over.
Vessel.
Okay, roll a luck test, one of you. Whoever wants to do it. And don't mind those rolls that I did. Don't worry about those at all.
So
Not important.
totally
Right?
not
Not
scared.
important at all what's happening there.
All right.
Success.
Okay, yeah, you guys managed to deftly switch positions. It's a little awkward. You guys are a little bit older, getting too old for this shit, Danny Glover stuff going on, but you do manage to get into your relative positions, and by that time you're at the turnoff. And so this is where, Album, you think if you make a left-hand turn here, this takes you out to one of the main roads and out of the neighborhood. But this is also means you lose complete loss of sight of the road of Exeter's house. You could still sort of see the home way back there. You can see the black smoke starting to pool up into the air as well.
Yeah. So Album will just kind of mention, I think taking this left will get us out of here, and then he'll kind of just like look around and say, like, honestly, this thing's not worth trying to get killed over. Like, we could, if it gets bad enough, the military will come and take it out. And there's other branches of the government that there's all kinds of things that have been hidden from us before. I tried to pin the thing under some debris. We tried to stab it. I tried to dismantle its gears. Nothing worked. It doesn't seem like it mines fire very much since it didn't slow it down.
We should probably keep an eye on where it goes, though, because no one else but us knows anything about what this thing is or how dangerous it is. So we probably want to.
But do we think it could stand up against a tank? That's where I'm going. If a tank comes in, if this thing wreaks enough havoc, then it'll just be blown apart, and then they'll study it and never figure anything out about it.
Okay, Vessel, it's on you. You're the one driving. Do you leave the neighborhood, or do you try to cycle back and see if you can figure out where it is?
No, I'm gonna leave.
Okay. All right, good to know. Let me just write something down really quick. Okay, so
we're failing in our agent duties.
You hang your left. You go out the direction. You realize that Album is 100% wrong. You get lost. You realize you reach a kind of a curved road that seems to take you parallel to this major where you can see it through the yards of some of the other houses, and you don't quite know how to get there. And it takes you an extra couple minutes of kind of cycling around through these weird old, Boston streets. They're not perfect grid patterns. They're curved and here and there, and you kind of get caught in like a one way at some point. You got to turn around, and it's a good 5 or 6 minutes before you finally make it back out. And that's at that time, as you come to an intersection, this light that you're leaving the Medford neighborhood, you see a very large red fire truck just pouring right into the neighborhood, and you can hear the sirens. You can see that there's an ambulance that seems to be a little bit further down. Looks like a cop car as well, a couple sirens coming, but you guys nearly get sideswiped by this fire truck that comes sweeping into the neighborhood. But you're able to get on the street. You drive away. And what happens to that poor neighborhood. So
Ashley is so distraught right now over
those poor children.
This is how Album sees it. Look, we could absolutely kill ourselves trying to stop an unstoppable machine, or we can just cut our losses and recognize that we're outclassed by a sentient piece of machinery that we can't find a power source for. So Album's kind of written this situation off. It's yep, can't do anything about it.
I like it. Like how cold he is. It's great. Doesn't care about them kids or those old people and dogs. Screw them. Okay. Where do you guys... Good.
So did you just hear the fact that it ignored the old woman and said okay, well, maybe that'll ignore the rest of them then?
Pretty much.
Okay. So 2 questions. What are you guys saying to each other or thinking, and then, feeling, etc.? And 2, second question, where are you going? In your Dodge Caravan.
Yeah, Album is going to say, all right, we probably have some approximate descriptions of us leaving the scene of this. People have definitely seen the vehicle. There's no way we can return this van to the rental company. We've got to contact Delta Green to get rid of this thing somehow. If we return this van, they'll know who leased it.
Hey, we're not contacting Delta Green.
You have a contact.
We've seen how well that's been.
You have a contact.
Not for getting rid of cars.
We've gotten rid of cars before. You find somewhere shady that doesn't ask questions, and you pay them to take care of it.
Okay, as the person who burned his vehicle in the middle of the desert, we probably want something a little more airtight, since they found parts of my vehicle. And I think taking it to a crusher may not be as airtight.
I mean, they didn't bring back pieces of ours.
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah. So Fawn's vote would be taking care of a vehicle before in a city that we weren't too familiar with. I think we could probably do it again.
I mean, I think we need to change what the fuck we're wearing and maybe dye our hair.
Okay, so the plan is to get rid of the vehicle. Is that right? Did I hear that? Because I heard you guys talking about destroying vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna drive for a bit to make sure we're not followed, and then probably drop off somewhere.
Okay, what's lower between your drive and your stealth? Whatever's lower, roll that.
My drive.
Mm-hmm. as you try to like leave
Ooh.
the scene of the neighborhood without alerting too much attention to
I've had
yourselves.
35 success.
Okay. You hang a right onto the major road, whatever it is. I don't know it. I'm sorry. And you look, in your rear view mirror, you see that there's a handful of cop cars that are speeding towards the neighborhood, but both of them turn off and go right into the neighborhood itself. You also notice like the ambulance go as well. You look in the rear view mirror, you can see that the smoke is getting more billowy at this point, as if the flames have really started to spread across Agent Exeter's home. You make a couple casual left-hand turn, then a right-hand turn, and you drive around for about 15, 20 minutes until you're certain that no one's following you. You're 100% confident. No one has your tail. Doesn't necessarily mean no one saw, you would know, your training would know. It was broad daylight. You guys are in a rental Dodge Caravan. There were people on the street. It's possible someone not just caught your actual van, but maybe even the license plate. You nearly hit a woman. There were people out mowing their grass and stuff like that. You know that you would know, your training would know that there's a decent possibility that even if the cops coming to the scene didn't catch you, once they kind of do a little survey of the people around the neighborhood, it's possible they might be able to describe this vehicle, and getting rid of it would probably be a good idea. Okay. So you want to try to, so give me a general idea of how you want to get rid of it. It doesn't have to be a very specific plan. I'm just talking like, do you just want to abandon it in a parking lot? Do you want to try to destroy it like Chelsea and Fawn did at the end of Act 1? Do you want to hide it in a field, or like what's sort of a general strategy that you guys have? Don't worry about the specifics too much.
If we remove the plate, the VIN numbers, and then just abandon it in the middle of the woods somewhere, like, you don't necessarily have to destroy it, but you would remove all identifying info. Also, who rented this vehicle?
I think it was Chelsea or Fawn that went and did it, because you went outside
Trailer.
your trailer. I think Vessel was getting some supplies from his storage facility, and so I think Chelsea and Fawn went to rent the vehicle. So it's one of you did it.
Album's just gonna say, like, whoever rented this, did you use an alias or a fake ID or a way that doesn't track you back to you?
I think we established Fawn did it because she had the money.
All right, if Fawn paid
Okay.
for it.
If
Okay.
I did it, I don't have all of the alias stuff.
Well, what would you
think.
would you have put down, like your actual character name, Lana Bogdan, or would you have put down like something Fawn or Fawn something? What would you
Yeah, I would
put
have
down?
done my agent name.
Okay. All right. So it would have been Fawn, and then whatever kind of, it could be one of those things where Fawn's your first name and then you change your last name all the time or something like that, just to keep, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. As long, the main thing is I want to know if it was Lana Bogdan or not. And so it's
Yeah.
not. Okay. Good to know. So then again, simple question.
Yeah. So Fawn's vote would be for finding a chop shop to take care of this vehicle.
Too many people. What about a river? Again, if we remove the plate, the VINs on all the parts, and then sink it in the river or a lake, or I'm not familiar with the East Coast. The other large
There's an
Rivers more
ocean.
common.
There's this big ocean.
I wasn't
Just
sure if that's
saying.
exactly on the coast. Yeah. I'm fine with that too.
I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying that is a body of water on the
Yeah,
East
yeah.
Coast.
My Google Maps isn't up. I need to pull that up on my other tab.
You don't worry about the specifics. I really just want, like, unless you can think of a different option, it's like abandoning it, getting it destroyed or chopped, or burning it and destroying it yourselves. Like one of those three things is kind
That's
of
the chat recommendation is burn.
burn it. Okay.
So Fawn, I'll ask Chelsea, what do you think?
I mean, Chelsea's kind of down with just like if we take the car down to like a high crime area and maybe take the license plate with us and then leave the keys, wipe down our prints, and then see if somebody else just either like chops it up for parts themselves or just takes it.
Sounds like we're just gonna abandon it.
Okay. So here's what I would like. Whoever's got the highest criminology, because since we're talking about trying to find high crime place, like a high crime neighborhood, do whatever it is you got to like to sort of make it look like this is just sort of a hijacked vehicle or something like that, or carjack. I'm just looking. Whoever's got a high criminology, take
That
the
is
lead
not
on
me.
it and roll. We
Got a
don't
30.
need-
Derek, you muted.
Anybody got higher than a 30?
60.
It'll be
Sounds like it might be you.
Okay, all right, Chelsea, you're taking the
Yeah.
lead on this and making sure that you're finding the right place to abandon it, like just like in a street or in a parking
Uh-huh.
lot. Make it look like it's been stolen, whatever that looks like. Don't worry about the specifics.
Okay.
Just to be the paranoid old man, we are leaving a vehicle that has been most likely seen in the hands of some random criminal that'll use it or steal it, who can be pulled over, and then even if they have nothing to do with that, like there will be we can't get all the evidence. Depending if we have an entire police department scouring this vehicle, we could wipe our prints, but we'll leave something behind. That's just Album's paranoia. That's all he's gonna say.
Yeah. I'm going to use my reroll.
Okay, Melissa, please keep track of those. You're in charge of that. That's your job.
Crit success.
Okay.
Woohoo.
All right. Yeah, you do a little. You get on the phone. You just get some crime statistics. It doesn't take long to kind of figure out like what's a specifically high crime neighborhood. You kind of drive around. It's a Saturday morning, so it's probably not necessarily the most active time. I would think this is just Jeff's ignorance guessing, but you find what is essentially kind of a semi-abandoned like industrial area. Some warehouses, some factories, stuff like that. Some of it probably still in use, some of it not. A lot of abandoned places, squatters, etc. And you pull it off. You kind of do the same thing that some of those things that Album mentioned. You get rid of the license plate, scrub the VIN. Each of you probably splits up. Some of you are wiping down like every surface. Maybe even Vessel has some bleach from his materials, and you do what you can that you think will work, and you just kind of leave it there with kind of keys nearby or whatever it is, and you guys walk away.
Album, if you're the last one out and you want to throw your lighter in there, you can feel free to
Yeah.
throw your lighter in
Give
there
it-
and start our second fire of the day.
Yeah, I'm giving you credit for assuming that you guys could have even stopped and gotten bleach if you wanted. If you guys want to burn it too, that I just want you to hear. I want to hear one of you commit to that. That's all.
Album's not gonna burn it. That's too visible.
Okay, so you just leave
Make
it
sure
there.
we have the machine we took.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not going to take you over
Okay.
like that. You take all the stuff that you've got that you guys managed to salvage from Exeter's home, and you guys walk away. You still
Quick
walk.
time check. What time of day is this?
So I would say that's probably going to have taken you. I'm going to roll. It'll probably be late afternoon. Like sun's still up by the time you guys are done.
Okay.
So we'll put it, because that was like late. That was like maybe 10, 11 a.m., something like that, when everything kind of went down. We'll put it at like maybe 5 p.m. at this point, afternoon. Still some sunlight left. You guys, I know you guys had other vehicles. So it's just a question of whether you guys had them with you, and and someone was nearby in it to pick up the rest, or something like that. But I don't want to get lost in the weeds of that too much. And I'm going to assume that you're able to make your way back to some of your other vehicles that haven't yet been compromised.
Cool.
Then I want to know, where do you guys go?
I mean, one of the first things Chelsea's gonna do is gonna go to like a corner store or something and get some hair dye.
Okay.
Like a grocery store or something.
We're gonna have a very like Jason Bourne-ish, like
Okay.
go to a gas station, cut some hair, dye some hair.
Do you do all this in a gas station, or do you guys just go back to a hotel and do this?
We'll just
Hotel.
find a place.
Say that again, Long?
Oh, we'll just get a hotel motel.
Okay. Do you want to go back to the rooms you already have, or do you want to rent? I've lost count of how many hotels and motels you guys have gotten rooms at in Boston. Do you want to go a whole new one, or do you want to go back to the Boxer Hotel?
New one, because I'm gonna say the hotel is probably gonna have security cameras, and that van would be on those security cameras.
Okay. So you guys managed to check yourselves in. For now, this is at least the third Captain Nemo. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you guys find one. We'll call it a Hilton this time. You guys find a Hilton, and you get in, and you spend the next couple of hours. For those of you who want to change your appearance, you guys can go ahead and do that. Roll a disguise. I think there's a disguise, right? We never
There
get to-
is.
Let's roll disguise for funsies.
Aw,
Do
we've
plus
never
20
rolled
maybe.
this.
Let's do disguise plus 20. You guys do this. Yeah.
That's a fail.
Just this is more just like how easy it would be. I don't know exact rules of it, but it's more for me. It's not like if someone's just casually looking at you,
success.
they wouldn't necessarily know. But this is one of those things where if someone took a picture of you and like we're comparing two pictures and scrutinizing it, this if it might fail. Okay, Agent Vessel looks like a clown. He just starts painting white paint. He's got a big red nose. Okay, so that's looks like Album is the only one. Okay.
I feel like Album probably got the most practice with this after the last.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't pass. I artificially added 20 points, so that 30 is with the 20, so I failed.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I think we all have like disguise like 10.
we all.
I don't
look-
think any of us
Okay.
have like the charisma build for things
You guys,
like that.
all I'm doing with this is just it's less like you guys did enough that if someone was just sort of like glancing and trying to find you in a pack of people, they wouldn't notice you. This is more along the lines if it ever comes to it where they're comparing your face to a security camera face, like that's where this is going to come into play later. So that's a good tip, Aaron in the chat.
Just reading that.
You could break your nose to throw off facial recognition temporarily. So Vessel just starts punching everybody. All right, so we'll say then at this point it's sort of dinner time, 6-7 o'clock or so. You guys have some stuff left over. So just to review what you guys managed to salvage, you guys have a burner phone that's got a demonic seal on it that Album managed to snatch from the kitchen. You guys have the scribe along with a handful of like these like papers and notes that are like kind of stuck to the bottom of it. You have a postcard from the front porch that Albin was able to decipher, and you guys have left a shit show in the Medford neighborhood of Boston. So what are we doing?
So how's HP regained? Because I might need medical attention.
Okay,
Not to concern everyone too much, but I might need medical attention.
it's just such a casual question. All right, so where do I have that? I have that somewhere. Or maybe I don't have that somewhere. No, it's willpower. Are you like at 0?
No, I just took a huge hit, so I don't know
Okay.
if that did anything.
All right. I'll look it up in a minute, but we'll say if you're not at 0, you're not, and you're above. Are you like above 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're okay for now. So it's not necessarily gonna like mechanically affect you. I think it's like 2 or under where things kind of get weird. So I'll look that up in a minute and just talk it amongst yourselves. Then, like I just want to know what's your next course of action. So talk amongst yourselves while I look that up.
So are we in the hotel room?
Yeah, you guys are in your hotel room. You went through your disguises. If you've peeked at the local news broadcast, it is all over the news broadcast. Fire, chase. There's the Dodge Caravan is definitely on the ticker. Like be on the lookout for a Dodge Caravan, 2012 model, like dark blue or black. It's uncertain the exact color, and they have partial license plates. Some of this is based upon luck rolls. It also describes how an elderly man was found kind of beaten and bruised and attacked, stabbed multiple times in an alleyway, just like 2 doors down, unconscious, and neighbors are kind of unsure. There's various reports about a group of people showing up in the caravan. So you're getting a lot of these things. There's no pictures of you that you've seen yet. And there's an interview with this woman. Like, this is the second time in 2 days I've been accosted. First, it was in my home. I heard noises outside, and this angry man, this horrible man, just grabbed me, put a gun to my head, nearly killed me. Oh, it was horrible. It's awful. And then some maniac in a Dodge Caravan nearly kills my poor fufu. Now, oh my God. Oh, poor William. It was probably the same guy. And so, it's just awful. And it cuts back to the local news broadcast. They're just what is Medford coming to when you just can't walk out on a Saturday morning and without violence happening. We'll have an interview with the captain of the police after our commercial break. So you guys are getting all of that. So talk amongst yourselves.
Album is gonna pull the burner phone out of his pocket and then like look at the symbol and show it to Chelsea, or like kind of like get Chelsea's attention and lightly toss it to her, and he'll say, I found that in the kitchen before things got heated.
Heated? Really?
After I set the place on fire, sorry.
Heated? We're making jokes about this?
Album's in his element right now. He's like, well, this is my life.
Meme
His little
king,
pyro heart is happy.
honestly. I mean, Chelsea will look at it, but mostly at this point, like, she's just watching the news and being like, we couldn't have fucked this up worse.
Chelsea, what do you expect from us? We couldn't pin the thing, or I couldn't pin it. Vessel couldn't stab it or shoot it. We couldn't break its legs so it couldn't move. Like, if Delta Green wants us to get more information on these missing people, we can't do that if we die to a god robot or whatever that was. I still don't know what that was.
And we may never know because there was all the stuff in the house that we're never going to be able to read. And she's like not getting off that.
Oh my god, where's...
Might have
We
some
can't-
idea. We got a piece here.
Yeah, we have a machine from the location. We've got a phone. We know that Exeter is not as pretty and innocent as he appears to be. Who knows? He may not even actually be a handler. I feel like that we did the best that we could with what we had. We're a bunch of middle-aged people. We can't be
Exeter
fighting
is
robots.
the lion, maybe.
Maybe. After Album kind of justifies his arson and whatnot, he wants to Google seer, because I think that was one of the demons we had found, or it was something.
Seer is the company
lamp company.
that manufactured
Right, the satellite phone. But there was something else that made me want to Google it. I took really shitty notes. I just put Google Seer, so I'm listening to past Derek.
Wasn't there a label on the lamp in one of the hotel rooms that also?
Maybe that was it.
Okay.
I thought that's what it was.
So you're gonna do a search for seer, okay? And you're just Googling it. All right. So
yeah, just get some general info.
Just roll like int times 5.
All right, I'm gonna roll my. Actually, no, I can't do that because it's higher.
Yeah, if it's just straight Google, you can just do that. That's fine.
Success.
All right. So yeah, why don't you just Google? Okay. So let me pull up some stuff for you. Okay. So, all right. One of the first hits that you get when you look up Seer, okay, or even Seer Inc. is a all these like different like wiki references to it being the name of a demon, and it's and then I guess at that point, Chelsea, if you're like mentioning it to Chelsea with that kind of combo as like it kind of popping up as a common name in demonology parlance, the two of you kind of putting your heads together. It is Seer is a prince of hell with 26 legions of demons under his command. He can go to any place on earth in a matter of seconds to accomplish the will of the conjurer, bring abundance, help in finding hidden treasures or in robbery, and is not a demon of evil, but good nature, being mostly indifferent to evilness. And he is frequently depicted as a man riding a winged horse, and it is said to be beautiful. Now, you remember that when you were kind of looking at the phone itself, the phone had the Seer logo. It was manufactured by Seer. You saw the name of the manufacturer, but you also saw the logo itself, or at least when you look at it now, it looks different though. Previously, it was just sort of like this Pegasus, this horse with wings, and now you can see that there's this very small rider that has now suddenly appeared on top of it. But yeah, that's all you see. That's like one of the first things you get. It's just sort of this reference to it. And there's plenty of other pages, and if you want to dig into this further, if you want to keep doing that next page type thing, you just tell me how much you want to, how much time you want to spend on it.
Did I recognize the seal that was on the burner phone of what demon that was?
Yeah, I think we've only actually established that Chelsea has read through the Hygromantia. I
So
think
it's not just a cult roll.
yeah, it can be an occult roll. Like I'm okay with suggesting at this point that everyone, as long as Chelsea's not intentionally hiding it, that everyone is looking at that book and with combinations of just looking stuff up on the web, things like that. I'm okay with saying that everybody at this point has kind of a shared duty with that. But if you want to roll occult, and I'll give you a plus 20 on that. Okay. You would have. So this is on the. This is on the actual the phone, correct? That's what you're looking for right now, Album.
Yeah, it was on the outside of the flip phone, right? That's where the thing was. I'm trying to find the artifact or the evidence.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, this is the cell phone, not to be confused with the satellite phone. Satellite phone is the thing you were giving me. Okay, so the flip phone, that's when you kind of dig into that and you look at the specific seal that's kind of on it, almost like it's been burned on it or scratched into it in some way. You recognize it with your roll from various research you've done as a Citri. Great Prince of Hell, reigns over 60 legions of demons, causes men to love women and vice versa, and can make people bear themselves naked if desired. It's often depicted with the face of a leopard and the wings of a griffin. But under the conjurer's request, he changes into a very beautiful person.
And I see what ingoing and outgoing calls the phone has made.
Sure. You need to you probably kind of go through some of the cords that you might have in your possession to try to find a charger for it, because it is kind of down on juice, and so it takes a little time. So this is over the course of some time between your searching. So you've now shifted from like the Google searching of Seer, and you're putting more of your attention on the phone. So you're looking specifically for calls. You notice that there are multiple missed calls, and they all look to be from the same number. You have what's your computer science and stuff at, right? It's like super high, right?
It is 63 for my comp sci.
Oh yeah, you would be pretty fantastic at this. So over the course of the next couple hours, you spend some time kind of digging into it, digging into the SIM card. You probably have some Radio Shack gear that you're using here to kind of understand some stuff. But you can notice that there are multiple calls, all coming from the same number, missed calls. There's also you can tell there's several from a what looks like an area code for Vegas.
Any voicemails from these missed calls?
Yeah. So when you start going through the voicemails, there's about 24 messages from someone referring to themselves as like Ophelia and O, like it's Ophelia, it's here and there, and she seems to be like kind of frantically asking after Michael. And then there's one call, and it's very an imposing professional voice, and you hear that references it's a male voice, references themselves as DEA Special Agent Ruben Hardrick, and he's looking for a Mr. Whitwer, and he even at one point it's like, Michael, it's time for you to turn yourself in immediately. And it's just sort of kind of professionally pleading with him that it's going to go better for you if you just turn yourself in. We have all the evidence. We know what you've been doing. We know what you've done. It's been going on for years. It's time for you to turn yourself in. Don't let this go any further. Now, because you're a comp sci guy, I'll probably give you a few other things. So is your computer science at 50? Was it at again?
63.
63. Okay. Yeah, I'll give it to you then. I'm just going to straight up give it to you. It's going to take a couple hours, but you reveal that there are deleted calls that are back towards the same number that the Ophelia woman was from. Again, Vegas area code, Las Vegas area code. And you also notice 2 other numbers that have been deleted from like the call history of this thing, like outgoing calls. One is to the Dorchester House main line, and the other is to room 616 of the Boxer Hotel.
What?
What?
All that one.
So, kind of digging into it some further, it's also some basic information is that this was activated end of June 29th, 2015. First time it was used, you can tell, was in Boston. And it seemed to have been activated using a So Simple calling card, which is a very common card in the northeastern United States. It's like it's fairly ubiquitous. But yeah.
What is this phone's area code or phone number?
That's a great question. It looks to be like Boston area stuff.
Okay. I don't know much about SIM cards other than they're what let you use this phone service. Do they give any kind of like unique information or like anything useful besides just giving the phone itself service?
In terms of what I can give you, that's basically, that's all the information you're basically going to get from hacking it at this point. And you're pretty confident you've done a thorough sweep of it. There could be other things you could do with it, but hacking into it, messing with the SIM card, that's pretty much all you can get. Okay.
Why would Exeter be calling Dorchester and 616?
That's a great question.
And I do want to point out that the calls were from an Ophelia or an O, which refer to herself as
which
both.
Which
we
we
have a
know
note
call
for.
O was one of the notes.
And it was asking and referring to a Mike or a Michael, and same with the DA agent.
So the phone isn't necessarily Exeter's.
So that's been going on. So he's been at that for a couple hours. So I'm assuming all 3 of you are not just leaning over his shoulder and trying to figure it out. So I'm assuming you're doing other things. Now, Long, in answer to your question, there's a couple different types of healing. Resuscitation is only if there's a dead character. Stabilization is if there is somebody who needs to you need to stable during combat or something like that. Treatment is medical care in a hospital or aid station with like surgery or medicine tests and such. But if you're just looking for natural healing, it's recuperation. So over time, the human body repairs itself. A patient who rests in a safe place with proper food and water, you can attempt a con times 5 test once per day to recover 1 HP, in addition to any HP recovered due to like medical treatments and stuff like that. On a critical success, you can regain a 1d4. On a fumble, you lose 1 HP. So
Then,
that's natural recuperation.
I'll probably just cheaply buy myself for now until I find like maybe a black market.
None of you are
alley
specific.
sort of thing.
None of you specifically have like a medical background, right? That I know of. But if
I
No.
mean, I have first aid 10,
You know.
but that's like it.
yeah, that's not what I mean. I'm looking for somebody who's more just like you. Maybe you were a medic in the
Oh,
army,
no.
or you were a nurse, or something like that.
Negative.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, I would say like one of them could potentially do it, but it sounds like you said, you're probably gonna have to find like a veterinarian to do it on the cheap. So while Album has been going through this flip phone for the past 2 hours, what are you guys doing? The 3 of you.
I want to keep this body armor on and mess with this machine just in case this one decides to stab me as well.
All
I
right.
want to read the notes that were attached to like the bottom of it.
Okay. And then Fawn, what do you want to do?
I was actually wondering if I could if Vessel was interested trying to use that coincidence maybe for some contacts to try to get him some healing, like try to
Okay.
make some phone calls, find someone that's willing to do some healing that's not connected to a hospital.
We can do that. But since he's messing with the machine first, we'll probably resolve that first, since that's something he
Yeah,
wants
like
to do.
while I'm making phone calls and trying to locate this individual.
Okay. Yeah, you just want to freely do it to avoid a roll. Get some street healing. I like that. That's good, Captain. Okay. So Chelsea, you said the sheets, right? So you start as you're carrying it. You know when you were, it wasn't particularly heavy. It was just a little awkward more than anything, but it wasn't that heavy. But there were some papers and stuff that were kind of stuck to the bottom here and there, like where you can tell that there's these big giant pools of like dried black ink that you think is almost working as an adhesive, kind of like wadding. And some of these papers have been torn and ripped, and you can see a few of them have been shredded, likely during all the chaos. Some of it has probably fallen off and been discarded. So there's not a whole lot left. But there are some things that are kind of interesting. And as you're digging through, you're kind of slowly, carefully peeling away. You start noticing that there are pages that almost look like personnel files. You can see that there's a couple of them have like really crude photocopied photos of people, some of whom you recognize in the room right now, others you don't. As you see a photo of yourself in here, a little bit younger, nothing that's necessarily too recent. You see these like personnel sheets that are like half cut off, and each of them has like different names on them. You notice one for a woman named Lana Bogdan, and when you're looking over it, and the various other kind of small like little details, but it's Lana Bogdan, and you see there's a photo of Agent Fawn, born 4th of February 1958, 180 High Park Lane, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20910. Seems to be an address. It says American Battlefield Protection Program, ? Go ahead and share this with you guys. Mother and sister, ? Deceased. Niece, University of Maryland, lacrosse scholarship. 3-year drug problem, ? Pills, ? Older niece, rejected by Johns Hopkins grad program, backup school Rutgers, blames Lana. Brother-in-law Reggie on probation at work. AA, broke sobriety in May, might be open to encounter. Doesn't seem to know about Eileen and Owen. And it's all kind of...
This was on the machine?
No, this is like underneath the machine. There was like wadded up against it, like dried and stuck to it. And Chelsea just kind of ripped some of these pages. There's like these stacks of pages. And you're kind of going through them, and you can see that some of them are readable. And you notice one, and it's got a picture of Fawn on it.
I give it to her.
Okay. So Fawn, you have this piece of paper on it. And it's you, and you know it's you. They don't necessarily know your name, but you know it's you. You recognize your address in Maryland. You recognize the colleges your nieces are attending. You recognize your brother-in-law's name, your old friend's name, your old fiance's name. Details that even Delta Green doesn't know about.
And this was in the house? Are there sheets on the rest of you too?
It was just underneath the thing. Let me see as I continue looking.
Yeah, you continue kind of going through these like matted stacks, and you can see some stuff has been ripped. It looks like there's a fairly lengthy FBI file that has been photocopied. But unfortunately, like the black gunk is kind of covered all over it, and you can't read it, but you can see periodically, you can see the name like Miles, Eric here and there. And you can tell that it looks to have been like a personnel file for like a photocopy of a personnel file for an FBI agent, but it's been ripped and smudged and it's like unreadable. But there is like one page that's got handwritten notes. Like you can see that it's just like this kind of smudged, dirty page that has some other notes on it. And you can see that there's a picture that looks a hell of a lot like a young Agent Vessel. Much more attractive than he is now. And it says Eric Miles, Vessel for what? Born 30th March 1959. And then there's like this weird little like almost like poetic rhyming thing. Top chick goes away, Miles comes to play. And then it has the address for Miles Wiles on Jones Boulevard in Las Vegas. Has the safe combination of Vessel's bar.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's got this note, interesting he chose Vegas. Coincidence? ? No connection to Whitwer yet? ? Then there's another weird note, like thinks he retired, thinks it was the FBI. Twin sister, has she heard the call? With Lancet. And that was it. Just with Lancet. Doesn't always tell Dr. Biggs the truth. Dr. Biggs doesn't always tell him either. Biggs loose with scripts. Golf, Canyon Gate Country Club. Kelly new, young, ? 09 Civic, dealer at El Cortez.
Oh, jeez.
And so Chelsea will kind of just set that one down and like go on to the next
Okay.
one. And she'll just be like, "Hey, this is a FBI guy. Is this you?" As she playfully will like toss it at Vessel.
Okay.
Never heard of him. Who was this guy?
You find a few more pages for people. You see some pictures. You don't recognize them at all. You have no idea who they are. Chelsea, roll a luck test. Did we lose her? Chelsea? Ashley? You there? There we go. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. You notice another one that you can see what looks like a woman with like this kind of blondish hair, but you can't quite make out the face. It's like there's this big ink blot over it, and then the entire bottom half of it is ripped apart. You see what looks like another woman's face, kind of olive colored skin, dark wavy hair, but like that's like the underside of that photograph. You can't make that one out either. You keep kind of sifting through it, and you come to another woman, and this one you are immediately familiar with as you realize it's you. Magnolia Rhodes, aka Chelsea, Rosemary Norman, Lily ? So many, but you can see that's like a typo, like they left the Y. So man faces, so many names. Born 17th October 1965. Father, 3 ? Homewood Suites, Richmond, Virginia, room 166. And then it says underneath that, when did she leave? And then double underlined, did she? Shekinah Village, Cabin B, 366 Pay Lake Road, Partridge, Kentucky, 40862. A little further down the page, how did she get one of my books? Does she like my work? And then it mentions your sister's name. Thea looks so ... And then, when have I seen? And then at the very bottom, just written, knock, knock,
No.
knock, 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 and then bang, bang. Go ahead and roll a sand test.
Yep.
And Fawn, you can go ahead and do that too. Vessel, you haven't technically seen yours, so we don't
Oh,
necessarily do
gosh.
it yet.
I was waiting for those sand tests.
Yeah, go ahead
That's a
there.
fail.
Yeah, roll D4 and take that much sand. Same for you,
Uh-oh.
Fawn.
That's 4.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
that's no good.
What is this from?
This one is actually from Helplessness.
Oh, I am adapted to helplessness.
Okay, so then you'll take 1, which
Okay,
is the
so if I'm also adapted.
yeah, 1 is the minimum. So
Okay.
it's a 1/1d4. So if you're adapted helplessness, it's just 1.
So that puts me at my breaking point.
Okay. Do you want to push this off?
I only have 3 WP,
Okay.
so I don't think I can.
All right. So the two of you are sitting here reading through these papers. And I mean, Fawn, you see your nieces. Your nieces are maybe that's what does it, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think like me, I would feel like I don't necessarily have privacy for some things, but that would definitely do it for me.
So, so yeah, you hit your breaking point. Go ahead and reset it with the character sheet. Okay. Nothing necessarily. Like you'll get a disorder. We'll talk about that off air.
Sure.
But basically, what does this look like right now? When we're visibly looking at Fawn, like what do we see it look like?
So initially, her reaction seemed like it was going to be a little bit okay of like, well, yeah, this is kind of what happens. But as she kind of starts reading it and rereading it and reading it, what you're going to see is she is going to start just sort of staring off into space and humming. And the hum is going to be that like ice cream truck sound that she's just going to be sort of staring off and just humming. That.
Not even realizing that's what you're humming, right? Just kind of, okay, I like it. That creeps me out, actually. Okay. So nothing, yeah. So otherwise, that's kind of what's happening right now. Chelsea, go ahead and roll another luck test. Okay.
60.
You see a couple more photos that are smudged away. You see what looks like was some kind of blank like invitation card. You realize that it kind of vaguely looks like the invitation that you all received to invite when you got invited to the birthday party. But you don't see anything writing on it. It's just sort of a blank. It's got that same basic size. There's a big hunk of like ink kind of covering it. And then you come across another photo that looks familiar to you. Ben Lancet. It's hard not to notice him. The albinism kind of comes through a bit pretty quickly. And Ben Lancet Agent Album, Brownstone Bomber. And then it has GPS coordinates, 31 degrees, etc., etc. I'm not going to read them all. It's too many numbers. You see GPS coordinates, multiple. You see brother has been taken care of, and then it just sort of like drifts off over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And then spiders, ? Curious pet. And then we all have our pets. Anxiety disorder, tight spaces, ? And Gianni turned under oath. Why? ? Feds didn't pursue. Alibi checked out. How? ? It says Charles in heavy debt. A way in? ? Drinks at Woody's Lounge. Bad tipper. And then it continues and over and over and over. You turn the page over and you can see on the back side of it, it's literally just in really small print and over and over and over and over and over and over for every single line. So we're talking like 100 plus repetitions. This is what you're reading, Chelsea.
I'll just be like, yeah, this guy kind of looks like you. And I'll hand it to Album.
Okay. An album, just for the timeline, you're too busy to look at it right this moment. You're focusing on the phone, so you just kind of like set it off to the side. And then Chelsea, roll one more luck test.
52.
Okay. You see what looks like, just some kind of mangled piece of paper. It looks like a different shape. Looks like it's been ripped out of something. You can see that there's print on it, but you can't quite read it or make it out. It just looks like gibberish to you. And then the final thing that you find that's readable is another sheet, much like the ones that you're looking at for yourselves. This kind of photo clipped to some kind of yellowing paper, and there's some notes. And it seems to be identifying a man by the name Agent Vega. And much like yourselves, there's aliases that are listed, one of them being Michael Whitwer. And it's listing a couple of addresses. One of them is in Vegas. And then there's a secondary address listed, much like yours, Chelsea, a hotel. The Boxer Hotel in Boston, room 616.
Oh God, I want to call it whenever we get to that point.
Okay. All right. So then, Vessel, you were messing with the machine specifically while she's like ripping papers off and kind of going through that wad of stuff. You're physically messing with this thing. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So. Okay. Do you have any like mechanical skills or anything like that? Crafts, mechanics, or anything like that?
I have a little bit of heavy machinery, military science,
Okay.
that sort of things.
Okay. So, you can roll craft mechanics at 20%, at plus 20 if you want.
I don't have craft mechanics.
It's okay. What's your heavy machinery at?
It's only at 10.
Roll that with plus 20.
All right.
I'll give you that. Give you a little bit of bonus.
Yes, so.
Okay. So when you take a look at this, it looks like it's a typewriter, a cotton gin, and a clock are all kind of like smashed together to form whatever this is, and it's well oiled. You can even when you touch certain kind of pipes and struts, like you can feel kind of a residue of some kind of lubrication oil. You can see that there's two hooks on the end of an extendable limb-like shafts of lightweight metal. One hook appears to hold a quill pen. The kind of feathery quill part is kind of bent and twisted a little bit. Looks like it might have gotten damaged when Chelsea was moving it around, but the tip seems to still be intact. You also notice that there is a refillable ink pot that's set into the machine's base, under which Chelsea had like a wad of papers that were just sort of stuck to it. It looks like at some point that ink pot spilled, and it just kind of caused this huge reservoir to kind of pool. So, and then finally, as you're watching it, you are completely baffled by what the power source of this thing could be. But you're pretty sure you kind of understand the mechanics of it, like how it kind of functions in terms of like the arm and stuff. So it basically has this paper hopper, and you can kind of place it in almost like you're placing it into a typewriter, and you can recognize it. If you were to slide a piece of paper in it, that's how that works. You're pretty confident that's how it would function. You also notice that there is kind of a second slot just below the paper hopper that's sized a little differently. It almost, strangely enough, almost looks like I know this isn't good for long, but it almost looks like a VHS slot, like on a VCR. Like it's got that kind of size, maybe a little bit smaller, but you can tell that it's something much wider, kind of blockier than a piece of paper would go in here, but something kind of gets slotted in there. Yeah. So you're sure that those are the kind of the two things that would probably produce something if it had power. What do you want to do with that?
I'll see if I can get it working then. Try to get it running somehow, like putting paper where it needs paper.
Okay. So you scrounge around, you look for a piece of paper. Maybe there's a blank paper that Chelsea finds, or maybe you just kind of go through like the desk drawer of the hotel, and you start funneling it in. Roll a D100.
54.
Okay. You feed this in, and it starts, and you can see it immediately springs to life, and there's like a whirring, and it's like the head kind of moves across the hopper, and just like a typewriter, it just slowly feeds the paper in, and kind of wheels around and kind of comes out the bottom side. This is impossible. There's no power to this. You're not even having to crank anything. It's doing it all itself. The pen is moving across on its own accord. The paper is spooling itself. Go ahead and roll a SAN.
Failed.
Roll 1d4 and take that much from the unnatural. 1 point.
1.
So yeah, you step back for a second.
This is unnatural. It's impossible.
you guys look over, and this thing's working. It's functioning. All of you can hear it. It's making noise. It's not quiet. And it's like squeaking, whirring.
Is it writing anything out?
It does. So once it finishes, you pull the paper, and you roll a 54.
Mhm.
You can see that it appears like at the very top, it has an athletic department header, University of Maryland, and it looks like a form, and it's got, strangely enough, like some of it's like kind of like a typeset print, and the font looks fairly familiar, but then there's like these slots like for handwriting, and you see it printed handwriting, and you can see that it's printed up what looks like a lineup card for a lacrosse team, and it just kind of shows the different positions of every player. You don't recognize any of the names, but it's just a list of a lineup for a lacrosse team for the University of Maryland. Now, you do notice that the typeset that seems to be used for the top of like the letterhead of this appears to match the same font as what you saw on the invitation. And you can see that some of the more kind of flamboyant, like there's like some more sort of flamboyant swirls and like serifs and stuff as well on like the handwritten part. So it's not actually handwritten, but it almost like makes like a mimicked handwritten typeface.
So I'm starting to think that we need to see if we're actually working for like this. Are we sure we've been talking to Delta Green this whole time? If we're getting invitations from a self-typing machine, like this is...
I want to put more paper in it.
Okay. So yeah, you do so. Go ahead and roll a D100.
I like that your way of speaking is like exactly as confused as we would be. Like, wait,
it's like it's got the same font as the invitation. It's got all of our information. I'm like, this is...
Chelsea, you put one in and it starts. You hear the hopper kind of move across. You see it kind of move quickly. And when you get it, you're looking at it and it looks like a menu. Like this, a drink menu. Like that you would put in a small kind of leather fold case that sits at the table when people arrive. And it says Miles Vials. And you can see that it lists a series of drinks, drafts on tap, imports, and then it has a list of various appetizers, like really crappy food, jalapeno poppers, cheese fries, stuff like that.
I'm going to do another one.
Okay. Roll D100.
Chelsea's freaking out at this point.
Yeah.
47.
Okay. As this... So is everybody sharing this with everybody? Like, are you like, is everyone looking at the papers when they pop out?
I'm not hiding them. I'm
Okay.
setting them next to like
Okay.
wherever I'm at.
Maybe someone's reading it out loud, like a lacrosse lineup or whatever. So Fawn, would you pick that up and look at it?
So I guess that was going to be my question for you, kind of the timing of my breaking point and whether I'm able to still make those connections.
Well, I'm going to want you to make a sand test if you're looking at this lineup for helplessness on this first.
Sure.
So as you start digging through that, yeah, go ahead.
But yes, if I'm
okay. And same for you, Vessel. You're okay. So actually, no, success 1.
for fun?
So success is this one's from helplessness. So success is 1, failure is 1d4.
Okay.
Same for you, Vessel.
Yeah, I succeeded.
Yeah, this is helplessness from the sense like you're getting stuff about you that's like popping up. This is less about the mechanics of the thing printing up, but more the information. It's information about your lives, your personal lives that even your various people in the room don't know.
That's coming out of this machine thing.
That has no power.
Has no power. So Chelsea, you do it again, and you start seeing entries pop up for various demonic entries in the Ars Scatia or the Hydromantia. You can see them, they start popping up. Gets through like one page, and it's just kind of giving like little brief snippets, like summaries. It's got one for, would you roll?
47.
Okay. So there's one for Baal that pops up. 1 second. And it describes Baal, and there's a couple different spellings of it, and kind of gets into like Mesopotamian mythology and stuff, and various other iterations. There's an entry for Cameo that you've read before, I believe. So it's a lesser key of Solomon. Is president of hell, rules over 30 legions of demons. You see an entry pop up for Gamagen, and as you read through it, you realize that there's a series of alternate names, and one of them, as you're reading, Gamagen is the 4th goetic demon described in the Lesser Key of Solomon, and 46th in the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonium, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But basically, it works as a marquis who initially takes the form of a small horse before transforming into a horse-voiced human. And as you're reading through, you notice the name, an alternate name, Simagina, kind of pop up. And then that finishes the page, just those 3.
Simagina.
So 3 names pop,
No.
like 3 names, and then like a brief description. Again, these are brief descriptions. You've read these descriptions before, but you never, like, it's just right there on the page.
Okay.
But there was only room on the page for 3.
So there's like a VCR slot. Was that empty?
Yeah, you kind of, it looks to be empty. Something goes in there, and you're not sure. It's like it's just a couple centimeters by a couple centimeters. So it's like, it like, think of how big of like a VHS tape is, and it's roughly similar in size to that.
Is there like a Bible book like in like the thing, and would that fit in there?
Yeah, there's a Gideon Bible, I'm sure, in the drawer. But as you try to place it in, it does not fit. No. And at this,
go
ahead.
We still have that book that's like has the devils or something in it. I forget what it's called.
Hydromantia.
I'm not putting that in there.
Maybe it's like the same size.
Yeah, we don't need it printing demons.
Is it the right size? Just out of curiosity.
The Hydromantia? No, that's a big old
Yeah, that's
massive
sheet
book. It's
thick.
an old antique book.
Okay, so
I'm not saying at this point everyone is kind of like, the 2 hours have passed. Everyone's kind of caught up, and this is all sort of happening in time where all of you can react accordingly.
question to you all from Ashley.
Who's that?
Whitwer. Was that the patient guy who was the famous killer, or what was his name?
Yeah, that was Ed Myler West or Weist.
Myler West.
Wist.
Okay.
Wist.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think we've heard Whitwer before.
So, is everybody sharing info with each other?
I am, the stuff that I
Yeah.
found.
Yeah.
Album, I need you to do 2 things. First of all, I need you to roll a SAN test for helplessness for looking at what clearly is your file, information about you, creepy notes about your brother, and take 1 point from
Success.
helplessness. So if you're adapted to helplessness, like, you don't take any from fail, but you're still going to take a minimum of 1 from this.
Okay.
And then the other thing, and so as your hand's kind of shaking maybe from that, maybe you just kind of drop it, and it kind of floats. And it lands in such a way that allows one of the other pages that Chelsea had taken out and set aside and wasn't really paying attention to because everyone was so obsessed with probably their own files. And it lands in a way that kind of covers the writing, but it shows a picture of a man that you recognize. And it kind of gives you the shakes for a minute as you feel this like sense of the walls kind of closing in on you. You feel like suddenly you're in like a hallway, lights kind of flickering, It's like this moment of dizziness sort of washes over you. And you look down and you see the face of a man that you saw in the hallway of the McAllister building 20 years ago, laying on top of some kind of medical bed, of strapped down. And he kind of screamed out at one point as he was sucked down into the floor, into this long, dark shaft, and disappeared, and a weird face kind of looked back up at you before blinking away. Now I need you to roll sand for that. Sorry, there's a lot happening at once.
David Bogdan?
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. We do have a reroll. This would be your only reroll for this, though. So during this whole scene of you guys going through your info, you're not going to get the album will not get another reroll. But if you want to reroll,
it would just be album, not the group.
Yeah, it's just you. This is just for you. This is your scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't mind failing it, but I don't want to crit fail it.
Yeah, because that's going to be a full 4. All right, roll a d4. This is the unnatural because it's a reference to the night floors.
Yeah.
2.
Okay.
So you guys are just going through, and you're realizing what the fuck was in Agent Exeter's home.
Yeah, album's just gonna like look around the room and say like, I really don't think Delta Green would be okay with someone having a machine that's capable of killing and not being killed, and a machine that seems to print whatever it wants without any instruction or coding. Like, does anybody have anyone we can reach out to check to see if Exeter's like a rogue agent or something, or like if he's even an actual agent?
And at this point, like, Chelsea's like hugging like the hydromantasia to her chest because Fawn wanted to put it inside the machine, and she was kind of upset about that. And I'm the only one out of us who has read the complete copy of The King in Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't involve more people in this.
It's not about involving more people. It's just about seeing if Delta Green's even heard of Exeter, or if we're even on a mission. If we're pawns in a game, we can just back out now. If we're not actually working for Delta Green, why continue?
But we already know there's missing agents for this. What if Exeter is another one of those agents who's now like
and I still want to get
chaos?
more information about, there's people out there, Delta Green or otherwise, that are still have been stalking us over the course of the last 20 years, are keeping an eye on family members and all of this other, like, that in and of itself is still something that we should
But wait, how do we
figure out.
because of the forms that were just printed out?
Because of the sheets that were at the underneath. Like, there's still someone that knows where my nieces go to school.
I was under the impression that this typewriter printed these things out. Does the font of our character sheets?
I should clarify. Those sheets that have info about you, it's got handwritten stuff. And you can tell all of you have looked at the exemplar from the invitation, and it's Exeter's handwriting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have clarified.
Same
blue pen and everything.
He could just be keeping track of the spread. Like, we've been in contact with the night floors, and then who are we in contact with, kind of thing? Like,
so he's sending us on an errand run just to keep an eye on us? That's what you're saying?
and I mean, and Chelsea really, she's like, I don't know at this point. All I know is that there is something far greater than us that honestly I really don't know how to deal with, and we need to somehow contain it and prevent it from getting spread out more. And yet we already fucked up royally. There's a whole street that got exposed to that shit potentially today. And then what else are we supposed to do? On Tuesday there's supposed to be this big meeting, and honestly that's probably that's stage day. That's the performance. Either we get it finished before then, or it's all fucking over. And at that point, Chelsea's gonna get up and I need air, and she's gonna leave.
So you guys watch as Chelsea walks out the door. Chelsea, you open the door to go out into the hallway, and
Oh, shit.
you're expecting to step into the hallway of your hotel, but your foot lands and you hear the echo of the soul on what sounds like tiled floors, and you realize with a start that you are in the bathroom, and you hear a curtain suddenly shift, and all four of you hear bullets fired. Chelsea goes staggering back and the door shuts. Chelsea, I need you to roll dodge.
Okay.
Did you just shoot at yourself in some completely messed up bathroom to bathroom scene?
Failure.
Okay.
Do you have a reroll, or are you about to get shot?
Have you already used it this for during the scene? Did you use a reroll?
Album used the reroll, right?
I thought that was just for me.
I used one earlier, but that was like way earlier at the beginning of the stream.
It's no big deal. It's not a lethal weapon. Lethal weapon. You're gonna take 10 points of damage.
It's not a lethal weapon. Doesn't.
I
damage.
rolled a
Wow.
10 on a D10. What do you want from me?
I have 1 HP.
As
Oh no,
you-
you're unconscious.
Oh, okay, I was about to say. I thought you were about to just die, like
You-
straight up. But
So the gun goes off and Chelsea goes flying backwards into the room. You guys just saw her go like down a little recessed hallway past the real bathroom. Oh, you heard the door open up and then a series of gunfire, and she goes flailing backwards, falling down on the ground, and you can see that she's completely unconscious, laying in front of you.
so I'm assuming the entire hotel would have heard this. Then these are actual gunshots.
The four of you heard it.
Fawn is gonna run over and open the door.
You run over, step over top of Chelsea, who's laying unconscious on the ground, and you open the door, and you can see that there's a hallway out there. Same one you just came in on.
Look left, look right.
Yeah. Roll a luck test.
Sure. I don't know what she saw, so I'm assuming that there's somebody out there that just shot her.
Yeah, you see that probably about, 40 feet down to your left, you can see that there's someone who's kind of fiddling with their key and going into their room.
I'll come back in and slam the door. Like, there's no one out there.
You might want to drag Chelsea in first, or is she in here?
Does anybody have first aid?
She
higher
fell
than
down
10?
to the ground in this room.
Oh, okay.
Do we all have a first aid of 10? I want to try to see where the gunshot wound is and see if there's anything I can use, like
Okay.
if we have gauze or a band-aid, as dumb as that sounds.
Yeah.
I have a first aid of 10. I did spend the thing earlier to get a medical contact, so that was one of the things that I was doing earlier. So
Okay, so maybe just to stabilize. I don't know if unconscious. I don't know what that means in this. I'm trying to find it in the handbook, actually. I don't know if she's gonna bleed out if we don't do anything. Is kind of what I
Sorry,
mean.
I just had that up.
Did she actually get wounded? Are there holes in her right now?
Okay, good question. I was waiting for someone to ask.
Yeah.
You kneel down and you notice there. No, you don't see any bullet holes. She's down on the ground. She's unconscious. You see no bullet holes.
God.
All right, well, no cleanup then.
I'm glad that's your concern, not the health
No
of
blood.
our fellow
Look,
agent.
if there's a
Nothing like that.
gunshot sound, people rush over. There's blood. We're already on the run.
We'll just leave her on the bed for now.
Yeah, and Fawn, you saw a man down the hall, just kind of casually, ever so casually, just unlocking the door, going into his room.
All right, I'll go back out.
If she would have fallen to 0, I think she would have died. You barely lived. Wow, that almost killed you. Whew. So if you're reduced to 2 or fewer HP, you fall unconscious. An unconscious agent is helpless and can be killed with a single attack. So if anybody wants to take her out, now's the time. without having to roll a skill. At 3 HP or more, or after an hour passes, the agent regains consciousness. But she is completely out. You don't notice any wound whatsoever, Vessel. None of you do. I'm going to go ahead and say the three of you can roll SAN. We'll say this is for violence.
Sure.
As a gun, you just heard gunshots, and she's laying on the ground, and then you don't see any bullet wounds at all on her.
If we're adapted to violence, does that change if we fail? Does that change anything?
You can't suffer. So like, there's like a minimum that you can suffer. So basically, you can't suffer from a failed test. But if the pass still had sanity loss, which in this case it doesn't, then you would take whatever the passing one is.
Fail.
So for those of you who passed, you're okay. If you failed, and you're not adapted to violence, then go ahead and take a point. Otherwise, so Fawn, I guess you take a point from violence.
Yep.
Albin, you said you're adapted to violence, so you're good. And Vessel, you passed. But you guys all heard gunshots. It was loud. Vessel, what's your military science at?
6A.
Okay. Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and roll it?
I failed.
Okay. You're not 100% sure, but it might have been a Glock 17, maybe a Glock 22. You weren't really paying. You really weren't expecting it. Just quick fire, couple shots.
You see anybody found? Was there anyone out there?
No. So there was just a guy going into his room. But his vessels, do you say out loud though that there aren't actually any bullet holes?
Well, yeah, she's fine. She's just fell over. But you heard that, right? We heard the gun.
Yeah.
She fell over. She's not responding.
Flew back, by the way, as if shot by at close range, but like kind of a high caliber pistol. Just sort of like a flail backwards, and then stumbled to the ground, and she just fell back.
Would it have been a rubber bullet? I guess that wouldn't make sense since you said out loud that the person outside didn't react or was fine.
They were just going into their room. If you want to go chat with them, I want to take a look and see if she has any bruises to try to test, because like a rubber bullet would still like leave a bruise.
Mm-hmm.
You can just find evidence like shells.
Okay. All right. Vessel, you open the door. You go out into the hall. Your alertness is very high, but roll a search because you're specifically looking for something. So roll search since it's not under duress. Go ahead. Okay, I was going to give you plus 20. But you look around and you find no evidence of any kind of, you don't see any shells, rubber or otherwise. Somewhat dirty floor, but not terrible. It's a Hilton. It's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. But you don't see anything.
I'll just yell back to Fawn real quick. Do you know which room the man was going into?
2 doors to the left.
I'll see if I can just pay him a quick visit.
Yeah, you go over. A couple doors down. You guys are, we'll say, on level 3, on floor 3. Insisted on not going to level 6 for some reason. It's really strange. But yeah, you knock on the door.
Weird. Why would we do that?
This old man, probably late 60s, early 70s, opens the door. Can I help you?
Hey, sorry to disturb you. I'm just staying a couple rooms down, but I was taking a nap and I heard some loud bangs. Did you hear that too?
No, sorry. I didn't hear anything like that. I just got in though.
Oh, all right. Thanks. Have a nice day.
You too. Good night. Closes the door.
Yeah, I'll head back. Can't really explain what's happening right now. You can hear anything.
I think it's whatever is messing with us is happening.
Fawn didn't go.
Fawn, you were looking at Chelsea? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So
Okay.
I'm looking for like bruises or anything like that.
Okay. What's higher, search or like your medicine?
Medicine, I believe, is straight up 0,
Okay.
and search is 31.
Roll search plus 20. And are you?
Success.
I'm not trying to be a gross person about this, but are you like removing clothing and looking at skin, or are you just
Yes,
kind of?
which is why I kind of sent them
Okay.
off to go like
Okay.
chat with the guy so that I could do that.
Yeah.
And give her some privacy.
You notice that there are three wounds on her body. It looks like bullet wounds, but they look like they're scars, like old. Yeah, one center mass, one shoulder, and you can see there's another one kind of down by the hip area. But they're old, long grown over. And then probably a couple scrapes and bruises, but you would likely attribute that to jumping out a window and running around by Exeter's home.
Sure. I'm just gonna start CPR.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead and you can go ahead and roll that medicine. If you're trying to stabilize, you can go ahead and do that. First aid.
Okay.
Yeah,
just
we'll just do
basic
that for here, yeah.
CPR class kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I failed.
You notice that she's breathing. She's got a pulse, but she doesn't wake up. But she does seem to have a pulse, and she does seem to be breathing. She's not dead. She's just unconscious. You try to shake her and wake her up, but she's out.
So then I'll kind of call Album back over, and just say, so how many shots did we hear? Because she actually has 3 scarred over bullet wounds. How many shots did we hear?
How many shots did we hear, Jeff?
And I'm asking Album.
It was like semi-automatic. It just several were just kind of fired off at once. You're not sure exact numbers.
No. I have no idea.
Well, there was no one out there. We all heard the shots. She's got the wounds, but she's not bleeding. So
she's okay. Like, she's alive. You're confident.
Fine. She's just unconscious. Let her be. With more pressing matters.
And Vessel takes out his gun, finishes the job. So you bring her inside. Maybe you lay her down on the bed. You got like maybe doubles in here. So you make space for her. What are you guys doing? What are 3 of you doing? Got the scribe that's printing up weird messages. You've got this phone, all sorts of information. You got a woman who just got shot, maybe? What's going through your heads, and what are you doing?
So right now I'm thinking this whole Delta Green thing has gone a little too personal, and I don't know who is Delta Green that instructs us to like keep that to ourselves.
Keep what to yourselves?
Like our personal lives, like we have all these identities.
Oh yeah, basic, like there's separation, like 100%. Like you never use your real name when it comes to a Delta Green operation. That's like Agent 101 stuff.
So it's definitely hard to trust like anything right now. But the closest thing I feel that's trustable is the note from the letter Vase or Valis with about like this missing guy named, what was his name? Mosby. He has all his information. It looks like he was also stalking Exeter. Things he has is like call O, which we have a little bit more information of. And then I think the O on the messages is what we're being left behind. So Album's got contacts in that now. And she's also mentioning Michael, which I think we know as the security guy from the medical house.
I don't think his last name is Whitwer, though.
Oh, what was it? Was it first name, last name?
Yeah, it was Michael Whitwer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the from the Dorchester, a Michael Devon, and you like this is the picture of Michael Devon, which does not match the picture that you see for Michael Whitwer. And you do have that large sheet that also is printed out in much the same way that the sheets are printed out for you guys. It shows your picture, your aliases, Agent Vessel, but also shows Miles, Miles and Agent Chelsea, but also shows, Magnolia, etc. And you see Agent Vega, Michael Whitwer, and Album. You recognize this guy. You're 100% confident this guy, and he's young. This was 1995 that you saw him in a bed, a medical kind of bed, and he was in sort of a gown strapped down to it. You tried to mess with the straps, but it was just they didn't make any sense. And then just as if there was some sort of mechanism in the floor that just suddenly lowered him down, and he disappeared into the darkness. And then a weird face looked up at you that you could barely see, and then poof.
Yeah, I think this Whitwer guy might be stuck in whatever realm that building was taking us to, which is why this voicemail is saying turn yourself in. If a DEA person couldn't find them, I very much doubt we'll be able to, especially if I saw them in a different realm.
So I just want to make sure I followed. So Whitwer looks like who Album saw as Vega.
Mm-hmm, correct. And you have a sheet that says Agent Vega has a picture of him and has an alias being Michael Whitwer. You have reason to believe that they're the same person.
They were also an agent?
It's certainly what it looks like. All the sheets that you have that have all these notes that Agent Exeter has taken on you guys seem like you're all Delta Green agents, and you have these cheat sheets of information about you all. And in that same stack was this one on Whitwer.
And Topchick was a photograph when we were in the night floors, and Topchick is listed as the person that left Vegas and then Vessel moved to Vegas.
So it said, G Topchick was one of the bottle photos that you saw, where all those different people, including one empty of you, but showing your bottle, Lana. But you saw him holding a weird shaped bottle. Yeah. And yeah, it has this, it's almost like a weird, nursery rhyme, line of a poem thing.
Yeah, so next I just want any of us to contact Ophelia. It's pretty much.
You do have a phone number. There are over 24 messages from the same number, and you would recognize it, Vessel. You have your bar has the same area code. This is Vegas. You recognize the area code. I think it's 706, and you have that number.
How late is it then?
At this point, it's fairly late, but you're also in Boston, so this is 11-ish at this point. You guys have been working for hours, so it would be 8 o'clock probably in Vegas. Thanks for hanging out, Aaron. Appreciate the sub, man.
I'm willing to give it a call and see if we get some sort of connection going.
Okay. So you pop on the phone to give her a call. Ooh, sorry about that. Didn't mean to. Those things go away. Okay. What are Album and Fawn doing?
Album wants to see if he can look into any information about Ophelia, since he's got her phone number.
Okay.
Yeah, and her name, just general search on her.
Just Google searching stuff, just whatever's out there. Nothing too in depth. Okay. What about you, Fawn?
I want to do the same thing with Whitwer, Michael Whitwer.
Okay. All right. So let's do these one at a time. Sorry, just getting some page numbers for myself. Okay. So you Google search Citri Album. Is that right? Ophelia Citri?
Yeah.
Okay. You find that you find a Yelp entry for her in Vegas as a hairdresser. You find social media like Facebook stuff. You can see as you're kind of going through it, there's pictures of her, and as you're looking through it, one of the, there's some posts relatively recently, like this past year, about a engagement. She's apparently engaged to a man by the name of Michael Whitwer, and his picture also shows up on some of these social media sites that you're looking at. And then there's this, as you're kind of going through what you can get, there's this brief cryptic post in early July about Whitwer seemingly going missing. And then, let me see if I have this for you. Then there's a very strange image post from August 13th, 2015. And it's kind of this semi out of focus image that pops up on your screen. Let me see if I have it so I can show you.
So I feel like Fawn and Album are Googling and they're just like saying things out loud and it's like coming up with all the same stuff because I was Googling Whitwer.
Okay. So the last post, August 13th, 2015. So a couple weeks ago. And this is the last image. There's no text to her post. It's just a picture. It looks like this. Looks like a telephone pole, nondescript. And you can see that there is a image that is somewhat out of focus on some kind of poster that's been smacked against it, and you would immediately recognize it because you've seen it as the yellow sign. And while there is no text with her post, there is one single reply to it by a friend of hers named Emily Harris, and it reads, "What is this? Oh, I don't like it." Now, if you flip through a couple more pages, nope, never mind. That's good. Fawn, what were you looking up?
I was looking up Michael Whitwer.
Okay. Okay. You do that.
I do that.
Sorry. Again, I just got to switch to. I got notes.
Oh yeah, no. That's why I was just
out,
laughing that I feel like we're gonna be saying.
And you do that.
Talking
you
out
do
loud.
And you do. Okay. And you're just doing like a basic Google search.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of come to the same stuff that Album has, kind of a bare bones Facebook page for Michael Whitwer. You also, like, as you're digging in, hang on, just looking for something really fast. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment while I find this.
So her last name wasn't Sea-Tree one of the demons or something? I'm trying to look through my. Oh yeah, Sea-Tree causes men to love women, makes people bare themselves naked. Well, she didn't have any naked posts that Jeff mentioned, unless that was saying if you flip through a few more pages.
I mean, it is basically Facebook, so you can't be posting stuff.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? You can only post. Never mind.
Are there any other? Yeah, I don't really see any other last names that are showing up in the Hygromantea, but Citri is definitely one of them.
Does anybody know about Dr. Biggs, or is that the first time we're hearing that?
Say that again?
I don't remember hearing. Yeah, I don't remember hearing about a Dr. Biggs. I don't think I have it in my notes.
Vessel, you would know that as your therapist.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what I thought. I was like, that's your therapist.
I love how you're the one who asked the question.
That's why I was so familiar. Like, who is
Yeah.
this guy?
Oh yeah, I totally recognize that guy. Sorry, I'm just looking for more info on Whitwer if I can get it. I don't have.
Album, while we're Googling this stuff, kind of sarcastically says to Fun, yeah, we're causing a real problem with not stopping a death machine while people are social media posting this sign everywhere for others to see.
That is somewhat problematic. I'm working off of this. Like,
Do you ever feel like we're fighting a losing battle, Fun? What does this fight even mean at the
I
end
mean,
of the
that
day?
is Delta Green. You guys know that. That's the case. It's Delta Green, man.
we are always fighting a losing battle, but we're supposed to be protecting people from all of this. But
All right, I'll burn down the Facebook building. You've convinced me.
well, there would be benefit to that. So, okay, so if we think that, so if Ophelia's last name is Citri, which is one of the names, and we know, so we know that Exeter is Marbus, who is also on this. Have we connected anyone else specifically to one of these demons? That we know of the demon name and we know who they are in real life?
So far, it's just Ophelia and or Exeter or Marbus, right?
Marbus.
I don't see anything else in my notes.
Didn't we have Bale? So we had Bale, but we don't have a connection to Bale as a person, though, right?
Right. Yeah, let me check Bale.
You sure of that?
I have Bale, like the demons I have marked down as person, cameo, Marbus, Citri, Seer, and Bale, but I don't have any people that I've found yet.
Okay. Yeah, like as you're searching for Whitwer, you're not getting a whole lot. I mean, there's like really like most of the stuff seems to be directly in tandem with also Seer. It's 2 E's, Seere. That was another one. But you don't have a person associated with that. You did meet no, you didn't meet anyone named Seer. Sorry, I was making sure I didn't screw something up. But yeah, Whitwer, you don't really find a whole lot, but what you do find ties in with what Album's kind of discovering, that lives in Vegas, seems to be a young kind of handsome man who is engaged to Ophelia Citri, who is a hairdresser in Vegas. It honestly doesn't seem like there's a fairly huge social media presence for him. You start to get the feel, like with the kind of carefully curated information that's being presented to you, that there's sort of a reason for why there's not a whole lot. A lot of it is, it's kind of kept very, very neutral, almost like a showroom, just like kind of just showing the bare bones of stuff.
You said that somebody had commented on that image she posted, Emily Harris. If I try to look up her profile or like look up her, because I'm imagining people who see this, because I remember when we were in the Denny's, you're like, oh, you're just going to flash this sign out. So I'm imagining that people who see this, things don't go well for them or something.
Okay.
That's a good point.
So you search Emily Harris, and you're probably smart enough to search for Vegas, and you find social media of hers, but you can see she hasn't had any posts since, that was one of the last things that you saw. But you also notice that there have been some news headlines of Emily Harris apparently vanished. The 19th of August, 2015, the Las Vegas police are still investigating. You can see details of case confound Las Vegas PD. Officers, detectives, not very forthcoming with the press about those details, and so it doesn't seem like they're getting a whole lot to it. You do learn that Harris was also a nail stylist. Citri was a hairdresser. Harris was a nail stylist. You can see that there's like posts on her social media about a boyfriend, Micah Dunbar. is a name that you see on some of her Facebook posts. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of information that seems to be being shared publicly about her case.
Good
So,
catch. Good thing to look up.
hypothesis confirmed. People who see this just seem to die. Wait, never
Wait.
mind. Not. Nope.
Okay.
Well, we've seen it.
Yeah, exactly. My mind went there. I'm like, that's a mystery for tomorrow, folks.
So Vessel, what were you doing? You said you were calling.
I was going to give this Ophelia a call.
Okay. All right. So you get on the like probably your hotel phone? What phone are you using?
Just a burner.
Okay, so you use like whatever kind of extra burner phones you guys have on you. Pull that out. Call the number that pops up on the various details that you got from Album. You guys are just like, I'm having to hop from like 50 pages from here to 50 pages to there. It's very disorienting. It's pretty funny. Okay. And then while this is all happening, while you're kind of on the phone, you can hear like Chelsea behind you is kind of stirring a bit as looks like she's getting a little bit better as she begins to sort of turn and eyes kind of blink and she wakes up. You feel kind of pains on your torso, Chelsea. One like center mass, like right there on the sternum. You feel like your shoulders, just giving you fits, and you feel like this kind of like very almost like a burning abrasion from your hip.
Did I see myself shooting myself?
You didn't. What's your alertness?
Oh my god, I have so many things open.
Sorry, Long. I'm just looking for something, and I don't want to give you
Only
the wrong
27.
information. Okay. Yeah, you saw the vague contours of a person having kind of pulled back a shower curtain and fired in your direction, but there wasn't enough light to make out that figure.
So I imagine then that Chelsea at first is just kind of laying there and she's like, fuck, this hurts. And then like the events just kind of like finally like the backlog just like loads and she's just like, what? And she kind of like leaps out of bed and she goes running not to the front door, but she'll go to the bathroom and rip the curtain back. And just kind of like if nothing's there.
Nothing is there.
Like just pants as she's just like standing there holding onto the shower curtain and like she feels like shit. I have 1 HP.
What are you doing? Running? What are you doing?
What do you mean? What am I doing? Running? I open the door and somebody pulls back a curtain because suddenly I'm in the bathroom and I'm getting shot at. What do you mean? What am I doing?
We heard gunshots and then you were laying down and then you just jumped up. Lay back down. Take a break.
And then I think
you look awful. And I try to get like a wet like washcloth or something and just try to put it on her forehead and just try to get her to sit the hell down.
Sure.
It might make sense if I slipped into a fugue state, wouldn't you say, Jeff?
I figure you were out unconscious for an hour. I think
I
think you're okay. I don't want to double dip.
I'm like,
Vessel, you get on the phone. Phone rings. Roll a luck test. Okay.
Success.
After 3 rings, you hear a woman's voice. Hello?
Hi, is this Ophelia?
Yes? Who is this?
This is Vessel. And I've been instructed to call you.
And instructed?
Told somehow from somebody. A Mosby.
Mosby? I'm sorry. I don't think I know anyone named Mosby. Are you sure you dialed the right number?
Yeah, and I read out her number here.
No, I'm sorry. I don't. I mean, that is this concerning my fiance?
Is your fiance? What was the name here? Like Whitaker?
Whitwer, yeah.
Whitwer, yeah.
Whitwer.
You asked her? I thought you were asking us.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Do you know where he is? Do you know where he's at? Where is he?
First off, can I ask how old you are?
I'm sorry? Is this a joke?
No, I just need to understand. Or gain a bearing of understanding here.
Yeah, and you can tell that she sounds kind of like a little bit on edge. I'm 29. How old are you? And you can tell she's kind of getting angry at this call.
No need to get upset.
You just call me up. You ask about someone named Mosby. You ask how old I am? What?
I don't have all the information, so I'm trying to put together pieces. So if you can comply and help the best you can, we can narrow some things down.
What's your alertness at?
80.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Roll 80. Roll your alertness.
Success.
You hear a click on the phone. Like a very faint click that you probably wouldn't even notice. It's the type of click that you get the sneaking suspicion, considering your background in the FBI, someone might be listening in.
Mm-hmm. So I hope you get your bills paid on time because it looks like they're overdue.
Bills. This is ridiculous. It's just you hear the click as the phone hangs up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I took a turn there. Sneaking suspicion. I was being tapped.
Why would her phone line be tapped?
Well, it looks like she's connected to all this, so it makes sense.
So, as you guys are talking, Chelsea, you've got the damp washcloth in your hand. You're kind of like wiping your face. Maybe you take a moment and you kind of like peek down at your chest and your shoulder. Kind of maybe you stand in the mirror.
Yeah.
There's no scars, no bullet holes. You're perfectly fine. And that's where we're going to go ahead and end for tonight.
Wait. Hold on.
I like this game. I like this game. Game is like, yeah, just go ahead and fuck with them. That's what the handler's guide should be. Just like, yeah, just fuck with them. No, I'm just kidding. There's methods. Okay. Any of you fail any skill tests you want to roll tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead and do that. I kind of wanted to end on the gunshot, but like we still had like 20 minutes to go, so I just like, oh, that would have been so good, just end right there. And everyone's like, no, is she alive or dead? I don't know. So anyway, they're doing their rolls for their skills at the end of a game of every Delta Green or whenever intervals you all see fit. We just do it after the end of every session because why not? They're not living forever. They get to roll a d4 on any of the skills that they failed a skill check on, and then they can bump it up by that much. So if they failed like alertness, and then they can roll a d4, and if they get a 2, well, they add 2 to their alertness score, so it's fine.
I actually passed alertness this time.
Is
so
my
I'm
health
not
still at
incrementally.
1?
Your health is still at 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
You took psychic damage.
Fuck.
So let's see. Let's talk about other things we do here on this little channel of ours,
Besides
Lollygaggers.
mental damage.
I basically am just using this as an excuse to mess with Ashley's brain. That's kind of really the mission statement of the Lollygaggers. Make Ashley go crazy. But no, on Fridays and every Friday, hopefully every Friday or nearabouts every Friday, we play Delta Green as we're playing through Impossible Landscapes and having a lot of fun with this. Another crazy episode tonight. I love like the whole thing start the piece and the clicking and all that stuff is great. So come watch more clicking and piece connecting next Friday as we continue with that. On Saturdays, normally we play Worlds Without Number. A few of us do anyway. But we're not playing tomorrow. Couple scheduling conflicts. We're missing a few players, so we're just going to take the day off. But we'll be back on Monday in a couple days at 9 p.m. Central Time, North America friendly. If you're not in that time zone or near that time zone, catch us on YouTube. But this Monday, we're going to be playing Alien, continuing our Cinders of Heaven campaign. We've got a brand new chapter. We just started up. It's a great time to hop on. We had an explosive, crazy first episode of our third chapter
absurd.
with our Colonial Marines. It's pretty great. I'm getting off stage. Fair enough. That's fine. And then let's see. Other things. Oh, we got a new game coming soon. Next, not this Monday, but the following Monday, which is August 2nd, we are starting up a new game, Ultraviolet Grasslands, which is like psychedelia and Oregon Trail got together and had a baby, and a ttrpg came from it. It was great. It's wonderful, and that's what we're going to be playing and having a lot of nonsense fun with that. And then you can also catch some of us over on some of our friends' channels. Catch me a lot on the Defenders of Kobold and over at Garblag Games. I play there at both quite frequently during the week. So yeah, Arberlin's nailed. We're doing some EVG. Very excited. The old Things from the Flood crew, if you've watched any of our Things from the Flood games or our Vason games, that crew is going to be running. So we're going to have some fun desert psychedelia shenanigans. Very much looking forward to that. But that's it for us tonight. Thank you for all of you who hung out. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the subs. We got quite a few of those. Thank you for the hype train. That happened. If you want to hang tight, I think what we're going to do is we are going to raid one of said good friends. Who is up right now, Ashley? Do you have it up? Looks like our defenders are up.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and give them a raid. We're going to hop onto the end screen as I start the raid up. But everyone enjoy your weekend. Come back on Monday. Enjoy watching some of these defenders play as they got an alien game themselves going on right now. And we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.